Let's roll. I am Gabriel Morency. In-game live game day edition has begun. Sirius XM channel 159, SportsGrid radio and television networks. Countdown to kickoff is on, although we've got a bunch of things to track and get you caught up to date with, specifically the new NFL playoff seedings. There's been a lot of stuff that's happened today. It wasn't the most exciting afternoon of football, but teams have started to clinch their spots in the NFL playoffs, and the Atlanta Falcons are fighting for their playoff lives tonight with a quarterback who started one game in the National Football League. But Michael Penix really isn't your typical rookie. He's one of these dudes. He's a little bit older as well than like most rookies, and in fact, I want to get his exact age here, but Penix is older than like Jaden Daniels is. 24 years old. His birthday's in May, so he's 24 right now. And we're talking about a quarterback that's played big-time football, played in a national championship game last year against the Michigan Wolverines, led the Washington Huskies to the playoffs. Very mature person in real life, like off the football field, very mature. You know, he's like he's 24 going on 34 type of thing, like with his personality. And he's also started a lot of football games before in his career. Don't forget, before he was at Washington with the Washington Huskies, ironically enough, playing tonight against Washington, but a different Washington, he was the quarterback of the Indiana Hoosiers, right, with Kalen DeBoer, is now the coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. So he's seen a lot of things over the years. He's got a lot of starts. And quite frankly, I think you, I, or anybody else watching this show right now probably could do the same thing that Kirk Cousins did, which was just turn the ball over and put the Atlanta Falcons in bad positions. Penix, he's better than Kirk Cousins is. So, and if there's a plus side to this, I would say as well tonight for the Atlanta Falcons, and we're going to look at all angles here, is that, yeah, they've got the game tape from the New York Giant game, but the New York Giants are terrible. And it should be noted, Michael Penix's player prop tonight, his passing yard prop is 202.5. And he threw for 202 yards against the New York Giants in a football game that they were up like double digits in, right? Tonight, he's going to have to throw the football in what should be a competitive football game tonight against a Commander team that's going to put some points up on the board on Atlanta. Love the Michael Penix prop over 202.5. But we like to give you some trends that catch my eye for these Sunday nighters. A lot of quarter trends as far as these teams tonight are concerned. So let's start off. Let's start off one thing. The Washington Commanders last week, they beat the Philadelphia Eagles, of course. They turned the football over 5 times. All right? It's incredibly rare that you're going to win a football game when you turn the football over 5 times, and it catches up to teams the following week. How about this? NFL teams are 26, 45, and 3 against the spread if they had 5 turnovers in their previous game. It's like, you're dancing with the devil, you're dodging bullets, and it's going to catch up to you. So that's something just to consider as far as Washington is concerned. This is something else that's interesting. We've talked a lot about this year, about the Detroit Lions. Teams that play the Lions, they always lose the following week. The Lions are a very physical football team. I remember it used to be that way with the Pittsburgh Steelers and Baltimore Ravens. Teams, you play the Ravens or Steelers, and the old Ray Lewis days, you were beat up, man. The next game, you weren't the same. And the Philadelphia Eagles, this is pretty crazy. Since 2020, the Eagles are the number 1 team that teams lose the following week after they play them. NFL teams are 9-21-2 against the spread after playing the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Commanders that seem to have a lot of little things going against them here, don't they? The 5 turnover trend. Now we're talking about, the trend of after you play the Eagles. All right, as far as quarter trends are concerned, the Atlanta Falcons have been slow starters, but this is a little bit skewed because Kirk Cousins sucks, and Kirk Cousins isn't playing. But the Falcons are 4-7 against the spread their last 11 games in the first quarter. The Commanders 4-11 against the spread. Their last 15 fourth quarters. The Commanders have struggled in fourth quarters of football games. The Falcons 11-6 to the under in their last 17 fourth quarters. So we'll put that in our back pocket for in-game betting. As far as this game is concerned, we're rolling the dice here with the Atlanta Falcons. I'm not a massive fan of their play calling. I think their coaches are way too conservative. But as I stated, we really don't know what we're going to get, and neither do the Washington Commanders. All they really have is last week's game against the New York Giants, a football game that the Falcons were easily in control of, and they're sitting on a lot of other plays that they didn't run against the Giants that they're going to run tonight. So I think the Commanders, their defense, no Lattimore, their defense is going to be challenged, I think. Atlanta's defense can't get to the quarterback, but they do come up with stops. I'm not in love with the over of this game. And in fact, the only way we're going to play this game to the over, and that's what you have, it's like why pencils have erasers, that's why there's in-game betting, is we're going to tease it to the over, and we'll just take it, we'll play it as it goes as far as the in-game is concerned. But give me the Atlanta Falcons plus 4 points. We bought the half point. It's down to 3.5 right now. Give me a 7-point teaser to the over with the Atlanta Falcons. We just got to get to 40 points in this game. 39.5 points on the teaser. Falcons plus 11, over 39.5. I think we should be able to get there. This one, give me B. Robinson and B. Robinson. You could probably even same game parlay the Robinsons, both to get touchdowns tonight. Bijan Robinson to get a touchdown. He's been on fire over the last month. They're finally starting to use him properly. Bijan Robinson minus 150 to score a touchdown. Brian Robinson's been really good to us this year for first touchdown score props. He's a touchdown machine. So let's go with both Robinsons to score. Robinson at minus 150. Brian Robinson at minus 138. Drake London. Drake London got 31% of the targets last week with Michael Penix. Drake London is clearly the Atlanta Falcons' best wide receiver. I don't know. Is it them? Is it maybe Kyle Pitts wasn't as good as we all thought he was? Whatever the reasons, we can say, but we don't have time to debate it. The fact is, Drake London's the guy. So Drake London to score a touchdown at plus 150. And I decided to jump in on McLaurin to score a touchdown. So give me McLaurin to score a touchdown as well. We've got more props. We sprayed the board here. We're going out. It's one of those Sunday nighters. This is like the bailout special. Fantasy football championships are on the line. A lot of people have Jaden Daniels, McLaurin. There's a lot of players. Bijan Robinson. It's a lot of stuff at stake here tonight. But we've been pulling the trigger on some props here before the football game. And let's go Terry McLaurin over 4.5 receptions. Minus 155. Let's go Drake London over 4.5 receptions. Minus 150. Give me Bijan Robinson over 2.5 receptions out of the backfield. Figure Penix will drop it off to him a couple of times. Love Michael Penix over 202.5. Like I said, he threw for 202 exactly against the New York Football Giant team, and the Falcons were rolling in that game, so he really didn't have to throw the football. Let's go over the 202.5. Long field goal over 48.5 tonight. Total field goals. I added this one. Total field goals, over 3.5 field goals made tonight, plus 135. Falcons often settle for field goals. So let's go. I think there'll be 4 field goals. I like that plus money at plus 135. Drake London to score the touchdown. We actually got it at plus 162, but it's down to plus 150 right now. More bets on the other side. Let's roll.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night, I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't need to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Let's do this thing. In-game live, game day, NFL edition. I am Gabriel Morency, SportsGrid Radio and Television Network. Happy holidays, belated Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and an early Happy New Year's. We'll be with you the Monday Night Meltdown, SiriusXM Channel 159, and, of course, Mondays and Thursdays. Although this is it as far as this is it for that format. Tomorrow night will be the last NFL YouTube show for us, but we can tell you we're going to be on Tuesday night, New Year's Eve, live during the Fiesta Bowl, 7:30 Eastern time. The Fiesta Bowl, Boise State and Penn State will be breaking it down, in-game coverage. USA will be playing Canada on New Year's Eve in the World Junior Hockey Championships. Canada are currently playing Germany. The U.S. lost to Finland earlier in the day. But as far as the football game is concerned, it's the time of the week right now, Sunday night, 8:15 Eastern time, in which we say, all right, what are we doing with the first touchdown score? We all know the drill at this point, that the running backs have been the go-tos for us in these primetime games. Today it didn't work out for us. You know, it's funny. We posted a bunch of touchdown props today and first touchdown scores, and every touchdown score that we played won, except they didn't score the first touchdown in the game. But everybody that we played to score a touchdown ended up scoring. That's the way it's going to work out sometimes. But, it's almost too obvious, isn't it? Like, Robinson and Robinson. I got a gut feel. If it's not Robinson on the Falcons, it's been Drake London a couple of times. All right? And Penix does throw. Like, he threw to him 31% of the time. And he's their best wide receiver. So they're going to go to Drake London. Drake London, you could argue, you could put McLaurin in the list, but we can't play everybody, right? So I almost think it's like simplifying things. A true story. Last night I was upset after the Colorado-Buffalo game and lost a couple of bets. And I was like, yeah, you know what, man? I'm going to hit Mike Evans' first touchdown score. Mike Evans is going to score the first touchdown. And then for whatever reason, I'm like, Bucky Irving's probably going to score. And I didn't play it. I played Evans to score a touchdown, but I didn't play him to score the first touchdown. So I don't want to start getting cute here. And I actually had the same initial thought about this game. I was like, wow, this isn't going to be a long, complicated process for first touchdown scores in a Commanders and Falcon game. We're going Brian Robinson and Bijan Robinson, right? One of the Robinsons to score. I don't like taking, you guys know me, I don't always take players on both teams. I don't like canceling bets out. But seems to me that's the way, I don't want to overthink it. Maybe we can sprinkle on someone else here, and let's get the updated numbers. But Bijan Robinson, first touchdown score of the game, is plus 450. Brian Robinson Jr., first touchdown scorer of the game, is plus 500. After that, it's McLaurin plus 650, Daniels plus 700, Drake London 10-1. That's the one to me. All right, we're going to go both Robinsons and Drake London. Little play on London here. That 10-1 is going to it's going to grind my gears, so to speak. I'm going to say, man, we brought up Drake London. It was 10-1 and we didn't play it. So we're going to go a little piece. We can't play everybody. So we're going to go. I don't even like playing both Robinsons because, you got plus 450 and plus 500 only. But let's just hope that one of these three dudes hits the first touchdown score of the game and we'll be all right. So we'll go Bijan Robinson, first touchdown score. Brian Robinson, first touchdown score. And a little play on Drake London. Drake London, first touchdown score. No turning back. We're locked and loaded. Ready to go. Moments away from kickoff. So the Atlanta Falcons control their own destiny because they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who throttled the Panthers today. But the Falcons beat the Buccaneers twice this year. So if the Falcons can win out, they can win the division, and the Falcons close out with the Carolina Panthers next week. So this is a massive game, although it's all or nothing for them, right? Like if they lose, they got big problems and they need the Bucs, right? So they control their own destiny by winning this football game tonight. Meanwhile, Washington are in the playoffs. Sort of like Green Bay. It's like, yeah, we lost, but is it really the end of the world? What does it really change besides sort of, morale with the football team? Although it was a nice comeback by the Packers late. Unfortunately, the game did get over the number. So if you're just joining us right now, I went over a couple of key stats earlier. We're digging, we're digging deeper here when talking about some of these trends, but I thought it was telling. Like I said, you turn the football over 5 times, you're not going to win a football game very often. And Washington did just that last week. Teams that do that really do struggle the following week because they were dodging bullets and they were lucky to win the football game. And there's some daunting numbers as far as Michael Penix is concerned. How about this? Michael Penix in his second start this week. Quarterbacks in their first 2 starts in the National Football League are 4-16 straight up in primetime games. So this kid's being thrown in here in a primetime game, season on the line, no pressure at all, right? Yeah, whatever. If I said earlier he's older than Jaden Daniels. He is just by a little bit. Jaden just turned 24 on December the 18th, so just like last week essentially. He just turned 24. But Jaden Daniels didn't play in the national championship game. Right? Jaden Daniels won the Heisman Trophy, put up a bunch of numbers, but like Penix has played at the same high level and higher levels of college football than Daniels has. Right? He played in the college football playoffs, beat the Texas Longhorns, and then lost to the Michigan Wolverines, beat the Oregon Ducks twice, and Bo Nix. Last year, is something to note. He beat Bo Nix twice last year. Now, Bo Nix is in the NFL. You want to talk about. It's funny too that Michael Penix is getting so much respect, or people in the football world respect him so much that they're not massive underdogs. And I was going to say, you want to talk about an arrival in the National Football League. Nobody was watching that Giant game last week, man. Right? I mean, this is this kid, so a lot of people aren't even hardcore college football fans. But think about like how many times there's been like a backup quarterback in or a young quarterback, and it'd be like, oh, this team is screwed. Nobody is saying that because everybody knows Penix is actually better than Cousins.
As the candles flicker, a new tradition shines. 8 nights of Hanukkah, 8 nights of winning insights.
Like, they may come out slow, so you might be able to get a better number. Wow, they're favored.
With SportsGrid, every night is another chance to win.
No pick sixes today, they cover. So let's crunch it up. Let's make it happen. Let's give you our favorite props.
Let your Hanukkah winnings brighten your celebrations. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred, or just worked on the side, or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Let's do this thing. In-game live game day has begun, as has Sunday Night Football, and we've been dealt a lot of subpar hands with some of these primetime games that we've done over the last week or so. The holiday season, thank God for college football, but this should be a good one tonight. You can sort of just feel the vibe in the air. Almost feels like a playoff game, feels like a wild card game, kind of, and it kind of is, to be honest. Right? It's like a playoff eliminator, essentially, for the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons get the football first. So we'll take note that the Washington Commanders will get the ball to start the second half. If you're just joining us right now, we're believing in Michael Penix tonight. We bet on the Atlanta Falcons. I would not have taken the Falcons tonight if Kirk Cousins was playing. But let's be real. If Kirk Cousins kept playing, they probably wouldn't be in his position right now. But I like Penix. Like I said, the prop was 202.5. He threw for 202 against the New York Giants in a game that, that he didn't have to throw the football in. And I'm expecting, and we're seeing they're just dumping it off nice and smooth start to the football game for Atlanta. But it's not a case. Like I was saying when we went to the break, a lot of times it'd be like, oh, my God, this kid's playing his second game only in the NFL. They're screwed. Point spread went down to 3.5. A lot of times it'd be like, okay, you got a young raw quarterback. They're going to run the ball 100 times, and they're going to have to, they're really going to have to manage him. No, not with Penix. I'm expecting them to air it out. And even be more confident in him being able to get the football there. Like I said, he's not really that young. He's 24. He's played a lot of big football games, and I don't think he's feeling the pressure, to be honest. I think he's going to be fine. If they don't win the football game, I don't think it'll be because of, Penix is terrible or anything like that. And they're being very aggressive. They just threw the ball again down the football field. In fact, I'd almost say, hey, you got Bijan Robinson for a reason. Use him. Ease your way into this thing, but it's almost my case in point. I think they're sending a message, actually, they're setting something up here, kind of like what I was just talking about. They're sending a message to the Commanders right now that, hey, if you think that, we've got some kid quarterback that's just going to, run the ball, they're trying to make Washington think about things, and I bet then suddenly they'll start pounding the rock here with Robinson and mix it up a little bit. I've never liked Atlanta's play calling over the years. We all know it. All right, here's Penix. I said I wasn't worried about him. He threw it right to a Washington Commander. Well, we've got our first turnover of the game. As I stated, guys, I believe in him, but don't make him throw in every play, man. You got him in a 3rd and long because you're not running the football at all. And he throws it literally, I don't know where he was throwing it to there. Hopefully he got it out of his system as I'm bigging him up. I got to go opposite. He's terrible. Somebody just cashed a prop with Will Michael Penix throwing interception. Like, he literally, like, it was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you threw it. If you were trying to throw it to the guy in red, it was a perfect pass because it went right to him. All right, we'll see. We're off and running here. The Turlo, we'll see if that's one of many or if that's just going to be a story after. Hey, you know what? No one will remember it. He seems to be confused on the sideline looking at the video right now of what just happened. All right. So now suddenly we need Brian. If anyone's going to score, we got to hope it's Brian Robinson that scores first. McLaurin with a catch to get the party started for Washington. This is a good Washington team, man. Like, I think Washington would play the Eagles in the playoffs. And I really don't see what would be all that different from the game that they just played last week, where it'd be like, all right, it's going to be a high-scoring football game, and whoever has the ball last could potentially win this game. Right? I mean, yeah, you got Saquon Barkley, but Washington could score on you. Right? Like, Jaden Daniels is another one. He's not like a rookie Jaden Daniels. He's got ice in his veins, this kid. Phil, like I said, the playoffs are going to be lit this year in the National Football League. A lot of times in the past, it's like, wow, how many times? Hell, how many Super Bowls have I covered and I've been there, and it's always the same team all the time. It's always Kansas City, or in the old days when I would go, it was always New England. It's like, I ran out of things to talk about. It's like, Brady's in a Super Bowl for the 10th time. This year, there's actually teams, I think, it could be a little bit more competitive this year. People aren't giving the Vikings any love. Dave Delano will step up and in on the other side. We'll get Sports Strong with Dave Delano, see what he thinks about this football game, the Monday Nighter, the Lions, and the 49ers, and, of course, countdown to the college football playoffs. College football playoffs are resuming in less than 48 hours, actually. Not Sunday night. It's Tuesday. New Year's Eve. Let's rock.
As the candles flicker, a new tradition shines. 8 nights of Hanukkah, 8 nights of winning insights.
They may come out slow, so you might be able to get a better number. Wow, they're favored.
With SportsGrid, every night is another chance to win.
No pick sixes today, they cover. So let's crunch it up. Let's make it happen. Let's give you our favorite props.
Let your Hanukkah winnings brighten your celebrations. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are so early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred or just worked on the side or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Well, it wasn't the Robinsons. Man, we didn't see this one coming. Like what did that pay? Maybe somebody in the chat can let us know what that paid. They faked me out on the play. I sort of looked up and I'm like, man, there's the handoff to Robinson. It was a great play action play. It was 4th and 1 from the 6. 4th and 1 from the 6. They decide to go for it. And like I said, it was a great fake, man. It looked like they were going to run the ball. It was a little play action, and then Jaden Daniels rolled out. And we've got our first touchdown of the game, 7-0. Wow. What? Anybody shout out to Mike Parsons. Happy holidays, Mike. Our boy Frank in the chat as well. Grant, Stephen Lambert, our boy Matt George, who's going to be in the house with us on Tuesday night for the Fiesta Bowl, I believe. Let's bring in Dave Delano right now. We got our first touchdown of the game, Dave. And there's been a lot of primetime duds, man. A lot of bad primetime games. You've been on for some of them with us. I thought this one was going to be a good one. Now, we'll see if Atlanta's able to counterpunch here after Michael Penix's terrible interception. Maybe he just had to break the ice and get it out of his system. But I wasn't in love with the over of this game because I do respect Atlanta's defense a bit. And, you do have a younger quarterback, so I sort of thought, 24, 21, in the 20s a little bit, but sort of has the feel like there's going to be a lot of big plays in this game right now. Dave, what do you think? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I wasn't in love with this game coming into it really either. I was leaning towards the Commanders side, but that 3.5 we were just talking about a little bit off the air, that 3.5 point spread, wasn't in love with it. And, I don't want to lay, minus 180 on the money line. So I was kind of thinking that maybe I might jump in on the Commanders depending on how this goes, if I could get them at a better price. But with the start that they're off to, it may just be a stay away for me unless the Falcons can make it a little bit more interesting. So but we'll see what happens. Off to an exciting start.
Right after the interception, I clicked the in-game over of 47.5. It's 50.5 right now, so it has moved 3 points. Yeah, this is a tricky game. It's one of those games, Dave, where from a fan perspective, I mean, it's a big game as far as the playoffs are concerned, and it should be an entertaining football game, but it was a tough handicap. And, listen, it was a leap of faith for me to take the Atlanta Falcons tonight. Now, I didn't go crazy with them. I've got them in teasers. I don't think they're going to get blown out, but late in the season, Dave, games are weird, man. Like, look at a good example. Look at last week with the Buffalo Bills, right? Bills are double-digit favorites against the Patriots. They're down 14-0. They score a bunch of points, and then they end up winning the football game 24-21 after only. And then tonight, earlier today, they absolutely destroy the New York Jets. Last night, the same thing with the Cardinals against the Rams. The Rams offense wasn't very good. Weird things happened in the last 2 weeks of the regular season.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I mean, we were on last week talking about the Cowboys and the Buccaneers, and the Cowboys look like, even though they're not going to the playoffs, they look like a playoff team in that one. It was really a hard-hitting game against the Bucs, and then now we see the Bucs take care of business as expected, just completely destroy the Panthers. And the Cowboys, even without Jalen Hurts, with Jalen Hurts being out for the Eagles, just looked like that I guess they laid it all on the line last week. So definitely some weird things. We even saw, the Raiders and the Giants. I don't know. I guess maybe they don't want Shedeur Sanders. The Giants, averaging 10 points a game at home. They did about 4 or 5 games worth of production in one day. I didn't see that coming with that win over the Colts. They erupted for 45 points. So, yeah, we definitely seen some strange things today in these last couple weeks.
And we should know, too, guys, for touchdown prop players and fantasy football players know this. Look at today. Like Justin Jefferson. Yesterday with Chase. Chase drops a touchdown pass. Doesn't see the ball that much. Higgins scores the touchdowns. Jefferson today, right? Big time. Jefferson's almost like an automatic touchdown scorer prop player. Jefferson gets taken out of the game. Not taken out of the game due to injury, but like they nullified him for the most part, and Darnold was just throwing a nailer and Addison after. It's the same thing with touchdown score props, Dave. Weird things happen. Look at Achante. Like, You get random touchdown scores late in the season, random results, and hell, next week will be even more chaotic, man. I hate the last weeks of the National Football League. I had less bets today than I think I've had all season, Dave, on a Sunday, to be honest. I bet the Bucks game and I bet the Bills game in the morning. That's it. What did you play?
So for me, what I played today, I had the Colts, which wasn't very good. I had the Raiders in an ugly game. They took care of business, and then I had the Cowboys, which I took the Cowboys early in the week, where I expected something would happen with Hurts. I got them at 10.5. I thought that I got them at a great number as it went down to 7 later on, but it didn't matter. That number wasn't big enough. So started off early in the week, had a great Christmas. Did well yesterday, but not the greatest Sunday so far.
Well, let's end with some winners. Are you betting on anything else tonight? There's other stuff going on in the sports world. In fact, we've got there's college basketball, NBA basketball, World Junior Championship hockey, NHL hockey. There's a lot of stuff. I'm all focused in on this football game right now. I don't know about you, but any other action for you on anything else tonight?
Not for tonight, but I definitely have action for tomorrow for Monday Night Football, and also looking at that Music City Bowl. And I'm ready for this college football bowl game, college football playoffs as well. So I love the game tomorrow night that I know we'll talk about in a minute between the 49ers and Lions. And as far as this one goes with the Falcons and the Commanders, just seeing if there might be a live betting opportunity, but nothing a pregame on this one for me.
See, that's interesting that you like that one tomorrow, because a lot of people are sort of twisted about that one. Right now, they don't really want to lay the points on the road with the Detroit Lions. Are San Francisco going to show up? I'm thinking Detroit will show up, right? I mean, Detroit are playing for everything here. I think Detroit will show up in this game. It's amazing, guys. The Lions could be the 1 seed or the Lions could be a 5 seed. Like, things could change in a hurry. Very similar to the college football playoffs. It's dumb, like with the division winner stuff, but it's a cold world. So the Falcons right now, guys, and we'll hit the Monday Nighter on the other side with Dave Delano. Hit the pick.com, Get Sports Strong on Twitter X. Falcons moving to football right now. Let's see if they can finish this off. And they could not on 3rd and 4. Didn't like that play call on third. I don't understand these teams, man. And it's not just Michael Penix. We saw this today, Dave, with the Green Bay Packers. Now, I was on the Vikings, but the Packers run the ball on 1st down, 2nd down, put themselves in like a 3rd and 4 situation or a 3rd and 3, and like clockwork, they throw the ball deep. And similar situation here. It's like, guys, you're in a 3rd and 4. You got a rookie quarterback playing in his 2nd game. Just dump it off. Don't make it complicated for him. Just dump it off to Bijan Robinson and pick up the damn yards. And this is frustrating, because we played the long field goal over 48.5, but that field goal was from 46. But we did play that prop over 3.5 field goals made plus 135. Oh, there's a penalty on the play. Offside. Whoa, hey. Whoa, Dave. I just I spoke too prematurely here. They took the points off the board, Dave. Washington were offside. They lined up offside. And it was, it was 3rd and 4. So they take, and I'm like, man, I got a field goal prop bet. Don't take the points off the board, but it's a 1st down. So I got it, baby. Yeah, I understand. In-game total up to 53.5 right now. That was a big penalty. Washington really crowded why? That's so stupid on a field goal attempt. Like, why? All their helmets, it was like almost all of them were like lined up over the ball. See, that's what I'm talking about. Little dump off right there. Just do that. They picked up yards.
As the candles flicker, a new tradition shines. 8 nights of Hanukkah, 8 nights of winning insights.
They may come out slow, so you might be able to get a better number. Wow, they're favored.
With SportsGrid, every night is another chance to win.
No pick sixes today, they cover. So let's crunch it up. Let's make it happen. Let's
give you our favorite props.
Let your Hanukkah winnings brighten your celebrations. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred, or just worked on the side, or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Let's do this thing. In-game live game day continues, and the Atlanta Falcons are punching back right now. They've marched the ball down the field. They've been aided and abetted by a couple of penalties. A dumb penalty that took 3 points off the board. They made the field goal, but they took it off the board. Now there was a pass interference penalty in the end zone on third down. And there's Bijan Robinson with the anytime touchdown scorer prop. Not the first touchdown scorer of the game. Bijan Robinson, though, just scored a touchdown for the Atlanta Falcons. Do we have the crowd going crazy? Hey, there they are. There's our boy Matthias right now in L.A., hardcore Falcon fan. And Matthias really is a hardcore Falcon fan. Our boy went to Vegas to see the Falcons and the Raiders this year, which was one of the worst games in the history of the National Football League. But Matthias actually goes to, like, Charger games and Ram games if teams in the NFC South are playing just to cheer against them. He went to a Saints-Chargers game this year. It was just like F the Saints, and he was just cheering for the Chargers. So he's hardcore, and, he's fired up tonight. So shout out to Matthias if you're tuning in. Matthias a little bit. All right, we got Dave Delano with us. So, Dave, 7-7 right now in this football game. Like I said, I got the feeling this is going to end up being a track meet. Yet the total's pretty high right now. It's all the way up to 54.5.
Yeah, I think once you get to that, the good thing about the in-game betting is that you can kind of do different wagers and head different ways. But once you get over 52, I know that it does look like a track meet right now. If you do want to jump in-game, I think that the under is still probably the play. That 54.5, like you said, you need that 28-27 type game, 30 to 27. I think that's the under. If you're going to jump in game, I haven't done it just yet. I think that total's a little bit high, and I think it will come down at some point. I don't like going over once it surpasses that 52-point mark.
Dave Delano in the house with us. Michael Penix up to 52 yards passing already. 6 for 11 for 52. His prop was 202.5. Something that I pulled the trigger on, Dave, listen, he threw for 202 yards last week against the New York Giants in a football game that he did not have to throw the ball in. He's going to have to throw the ball tonight, and they're not babying him, as we see. And, in fact, I don't like it. And I believe in Penix. I know he's a great young quarterback, but I don't like their play calling. They got bailed out, man. They keep on having these third and shorts, and they keep on throwing the ball. They were lucky that the Commanders interfered with London when they didn't have to, because Penix, we just saw, he's too raw. It's very hard to throw a touch inside the 5-yard line. Brady was talking about that tonight. right? Even if you're a vet, a lot of vets have a hard time at that place. They're asking Penix to throw these pinpoint passes into the end zone. Just give the ball to Bijan Robinson, Dave. I swear to God, I don't understand the play calling of some of these so-called geniuses that make a lot of money calling plays.
Yeah, I mean, he's still a rookie quarterback. I know in today's day and age in college football, a lot of these guys are coming into the NFL older, and he sat behind Cousins for most of this season, so he's had almost a full year of practice under his belt. But still, this is only his second start. Don't need to make it more complicated. They got bailed out twice, but yeah, we've seen it a lot. Even some of the completely different game, but even some of the plays calls with Mike McDaniels today for the Dolphins, even though they DTR couldn't do anything for the Browns, so it didn't matter. But I thought that some of his play calling was questionable too. So yeah, sometimes I think they want to so smart. You want to outsmart everybody, and sometimes it's just like you said, give the ball to Bijan, run the ball up the middle, quarterback sneak, and just keep it simple. Make it easier for these backup quarterbacks or these rookie quarterbacks.
I'm buddies with Kyle Turley, who played for 12 years in the NFL on the offensive line, and I asked him once. I said, "Dude, what do you do when you're an offensive lineman? Like, how frustrating is it when the play comes in and you're on the 2-yard line and it's like a passing play a bunch of times in a row?" And he goes, "Well, there's nothing you can do, right? You got to ride with their play call." And I said, "Why do they do it?" And kind of what he said was, he goes, "Because they think they're," what I said, he goes, "they think they're geniuses," and he goes, "They make a lot of money." Right. And he goes, people are going to start to ask questions. Why does this coordinator make $1.5 million a year to hand it off to the fullback? Right. And plow it in from the 1-yard line. But they all want to get cute. Like, look at the Ben Johnson guy. Yeah, it works in Detroit, but it's like he's putting on a show every week, right? With all these plays. Right. And, just simplify things, man. And, the best teams, if you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, Dave, they're not complicated at all, bro. And even Mahomes doesn't even throw the ball down the field. Every year he's in the bottom, percentile of the NFL of down the field passes. All they do is they have nice little run plays, nice little bubble screens. They have a couple of pass plays to work, right? I find teams, man, they get way too cute, Dave. All these teams. Look at Green Bay today. Same thing, bro. They were in 3rd and 6, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4, 12 times today, and they kept on throwing bombs. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess Andy Reid, of course, he doesn't really have anything to prove to anybody. But yeah, I've seen
exactly.
that.
He doesn't care.
A lot of these games, yeah, and I know that's one of the ones I watched closely, like that, that Miami Cleveland game. It just reminded me of, there was a 4th and inches. Browns are really struggling, and McDaniels he did a little pitch that was actually a bright spot for the Browns stuffing it. And I just couldn't understand why they did that. And even on the other side for Cleveland, sometimes some of the passes that they made, pass calls, plays with a quarterback that just really couldn't do anything. But you can pick almost any game out and find several examples. Just whatever game you want to pick, almost you can find some examples of that every Sunday.
Hey, listen, we'll get to it in a couple of minutes, but your Ohio State Buckeyes. Your Ohio State Buckeyes, Chip Kelly, very similar situation. We'll find out what kind of game he calls against the Ducks, but he got stubborn against the Michigan Wolverines, right? And it wasn't working running the football. And they could have thrown the football, and they kept on just running into a wall, and it was like he was there. I don't know if they were trying to prove a point, if he was just stubborn. And I'm curious to see now, because he's been under so much criticism, just like Ryan Day, that, we're going to throw more against the Ducks. Yeah, we'll see if that works.
As the candles flicker, a new tradition shines. 8 nights of Hanukkah, 8 nights of winning insights.
They may come out slow, so you might be able to get a better number. Wow, they're favored.
With SportsGrid, every night is another chance to win.
No pick sixes today, they cover. So let's crunch it up. Let's make it happen. Let's give you our favorite props.
Let your Hanukkah winnings brighten your celebrations. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred, or just worked on the side, or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Well, fantasy football players playing in their championship game just had a heart attack as Jaden Daniels landed and got tackled extremely awkwardly. Like his legs got bent back. Like he seriously got twisted like a pretzel. And it was like, he seems to be okay on the sideline right now. But the Atlanta Falcon defense just terrorized him and nearly murdered him. So something to keep our eye on moving forward here as far as Jaden Daniels. He's a tough kid, Jaden, but he's not like the thickest dude. He's going to have to put on a little bit more weight. I remember he got the rib injury earlier in the season, and it affected him a bit, and he seems to be back in rhythm right now. But we got a 7-7 football game. We got a competitive game going on here right now. We also got our boy Dave Delano in the house. So, Dave, you said that you were looking forward to tomorrow's Monday Night Football game with the Lions and the San Francisco 49ers. Of course, the Lions are on a collision course right now with the Minnesota Vikings for the 1 seed in the NFC, but they could plummet all the way to 5th. Lions are currently 3.5-point favorites, 190 on the money line, trying to scare people away from the money line. The total is 50.5 right now. What are your thoughts on the Monday Nighter, Dave?
Yeah, so I've got the Lions in this one. I love the Lions in this spot. I got them at I've got it at 3. Just me personally, I just never take favorites at 3.5. I've got it at 3, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions win this game by double digits, actually. I think that this is a 49ers team. We've still been waiting for them to be the old 49ers, and they've been eliminated from playoff contention. They lost the game that they needed to win last week against the Dolphins, and take out that game against the Bears. I mean, really, this is a team now that's been held to 17 points or less in 5 out of their last 6 games, while still allowing 29 points or more in 3 of their last 4. I don't want to overthink this. I mean, you mentioned earlier the Lions have a chance to be the number 1 seed in the NFC, but they also could fall as low as the 5th seed. So this is a must-win game for the Lions. You got the revenge angle from last year's NFC Championship, and I just haven't been impressed with what I've seen from the 49ers. I know that the Lions are banged up, but they keep finding ways, and I think that Detroit is going to roll in this one. I would not be surprised to see a double-digit Detroit victory. I know they're on the road, but I love the Lions tomorrow night.
I don't disagree. I like the Lions as well tomorrow. There's differences. Like, sometimes teams could be, a bad team, but they're playing well at the end of the year, or they're a young team. They're looking forward to next year. They're trying to build something. But when you have a team that's used to going to the Super Bowl all the time, and a team with as high expectations and as many star players, especially that are out and hurt and this and that and everything, the Niners just want the season to be over. It's like the Jets. right? I mean, they're not going to, oh, yeah, you know what, let's play spoiler here tonight. It's like, no, let's, when is the season over type of deal. College football, these bowl games have been awesome, Dave. It's the best bowl season ever so far, the early start to the bowl season. The BYU Colorado game, and I guess both Colorado teams sucked. Colorado State, that was kind of they got drilled, and Colorado got drilled. ACC teams got murdered, but the games have been entertaining, and we resume tomorrow. Unfortunately, there's only one bowl game tomorrow, guys, and it's the Iowa Hawkeyes. So people are going to roll their eyes. Oh, boy, we have a total of 40 points here. Super low because it's an Iowa Hawkeye game, but Iowa have suddenly played to the over, everybody. Missouri, Luther Burden III's not playing. I guess their running back's out. Their quarterback is playing. Iowa basically are Iowa. Everybody's there. Iowa are a pretty good bowl team as well. They're getting 2.5 points in. Any thoughts? What are your thoughts on this one here? The Music City Bowl.
I like Missouri. This could be a low-scoring game. Could even see overtime. So I would, even though it's a little juicy, minus 140, I would take Missouri on the money line. Iowa, for the most part, their team's intact, but Caleb Johnson, their star running back, over 1,500 yards and 21 touchdowns. He's opted out. Now, the backup running backs for Iowa, pretty good. They've used 3 different quarterbacks this season. None of them have really been that impressive. Iowa was a strong over team, but I do like Missouri in this game. I would lean on the under, but I don't really love it. Just we've seen some games. I use, for example, that Northern Illinois Fresno State game that ended up going over as it was 13. We've seen so many overtimes. I can see this being 17-17 going into overtime and getting crazy. So my play on this would be Missouri on the money line just to win straight up.
It's pretty wild. People wouldn't realize that the Iowa Hawkeyes 9-3 to the over on the season, although things slowed down a little bit at the end of the year. You had the 13-10 game against Nebraska. They beat Maryland 29-13, and they lost 2017 to UCLA. More with Dave on the other side. Let's roll.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
In-game live game day NFL edition continues. I am Morency, SportsGrid Radio and Television Network. Dave Delano in the house with us right now. 7-7 in the football game. Atlanta have had their opportunities. They got the stop. They were unable to do anything with it. The Falcons took advantage of a Penix turnover, but Penix responded pretty well and marched down the field, although they did get help by a bunch of penalties. 7-7, in-game total 52.5 right now. Commanders are lucky that Jane Daniels didn't get injured. He twisted his knee and landed very, very awkwardly a couple of plays ago, but he's on the field. He's fine. And Washington are moving the ball into Atlanta territory right now, just outside the 35-yard line. So Dave Delano, Get Sports Strong, and hitthepick.com in the house with us. And we were talking about Iowa and Missouri. And then on Tuesday, I'm a Michigan fan, and we got a rematch against Alabama. Last year's Rose Bowl semifinal playoff game went to overtime, a real classic. Saban and Harbaugh's last college games. And, this is not, Michigan are not the same team as last year. Alabama aren't fully the same team, but there's a lot of the same players on the team. And to be honest, Dave, I really thought I was expecting more Bama players to opt out of this game. And basically none of them have. A few of them have transferred. You know what I mean? I know one of their running backs just left for Michigan, ironically enough. But for the most part, and quite frankly, Milroe's unsure what he wants to do. Like, am I going back to college? Am I going to the NFL? And I think he wants to play well in this game and sort of gauge it. And then you got a revenge spot for Alabama. And then you throw in the fact that Michigan are almost using this as a launching pad for next year. Like, their practices, they already have Underwood taking snaps and stuff, bro, right, for next year. Like, they've got all the kids in, and as a Michigan fan, I hate to say it, but this one could get away from the Wolverines here, Dave. Any opinion on Alabama and Michigan?
Yeah, ideally, you see 13.5 against a team like Michigan. You don't really want to lay it, but the way that a lot of these bowl games have been going with some of the opt-outs and things, I think that Alabama is the play because I just really don't see how Michigan consistently scores. I mean, even in that Ohio State game, you're talking about that earlier, the way the game unfolded, it was really the only way Michigan could win. I mean, Ohio State only put up 10 points. I don't think that that's going to happen in this one. It's hard for me to see Michigan getting to 17 points or more. I mean, Milroe's going to be playing. It's a revenge spot. I think the fact that a lot of these Alabama guys haven't opted out and are playing, they've got something to prove in this one. And I just don't see how Michigan keeps up, even if it's like a 27-10 game. I think that the play for me would be Alabama minus the 13.5, even though it's a lot of points. We've seen a lot of these bowl games with some of these higher spreads. The TCU, Louisiana, the UTSA game against Coastal, some big spreads that ended up covering. So Alabama's the play here for me.
First down Commanders inside about the 15-yard line, 12-yard line hit to McLaurin. Atlanta are having a hard time with him. So we'll see if Atlanta's able to finish off this drive. And the last thing about revenge, too, guys. So Alabama lost to Michigan, and Kalen DeBoer was the head coach of the Washington Huskies last year. He lost to Michigan in the championship game. So you've got like double. It's the ultimate. Yeah, exactly. It's the ultimate double revenge spot. Once they see that, the uniform of Michigan, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, these guys. But all that being stated, Michigan are good. They're better than their record indicates. And, if they score an early touchdown and, their defense shows up, Milroe turns the ball over a lot. The problem is they don't have their players, Michigan. Like, they don't have, like, I didn't think players would opt out as much as they did at Michigan, but, like, even Mullings, their leading rusher, isn't playing now. He declared for the NFL draft. So I don't hold it against them, but it is what it is. Louisville and Washington. Louisville are 2.5-point favorites against the Washington Huskies. Eric Bieniemy was just actually hired as the new OC of the Washington Huskies. So Louisville are 2.5-point favorites, total 49.5. South Carolina laid 10 to Illinois. And I got to dig in. I haven't dug in on this one, so I don't know what Illinois are missing. But I know South Carolina, oh my God. Jane Daniels gets intercepted, guys. So Penix throws a bad pick. Daniels just throws a bad pick. Wow. There's Atlanta with the pick. 7-7. They get the ball back, and they returned it to about the 25-yard line, their own 25. South Carolina laid 10 to Illinois. 49 is the total, and you got Baylor and LSU. Hell, Brian Kelly's even an underdog in this game, Dave. What a loser this program has become with this guy. You're 3.5-point underdogs to Baylor, Kelly. Any thoughts on the other bowl games?
Yeah, so for on two of these three, let's touch on that Texas Bowl first that you mentioned with Baylor and LSU. That was almost even. Now Baylor's taking some money at 3.5. I haven't pulled the trigger on it just yet. I actually like LSU in this game. I think now with it being 3.5, the last I checked, and these things are changing so often, LSU still on the defensive side of the ball. They've gotten most of their starters playing, and I know we can look at what happened to, if you look at the games that LSU really got embarrassed in, the Texas A&M, the Alabama, still teams better than Baylor. I think Baylor's a little overvalued in the spot. I think that the over may be a play here too. They're playing in perfect indoor conditions in Houston. I think that over may be a play, but I like LSU at that 3.5. And then as far as the Sun Bowl, the first one you touched on, I like Louisville. I've liked this team this year. They've gone a little under the radar, 8-4. I lost competitive games to SMU, Miami, and Notre Dame. They had that weird game against Stanford. I know it happened, but there were some plays that could have went the other way, and I think that they overlooked Stanford a little bit. But Louisville was a quality team. Washington, they still have that name recognition, but I've been a lot more impressed with what I've seen from Louisville this year as opposed to Washington. I know the ACC hasn't done the best so far in these bowls, but I like Louisville minus the 2.5, and I like LSU to cover as a 3.5-point underdog. As far as that Illinois, South Carolina, I want to dig into that a little bit more. I like South Carolina, but I don't know if I want to lay those 10 points. That's something that I have to look at a little bit more to see who's playing around game time. But out of those three, that's probably the one that I'll stay away from. That's South Carolina, Illinois.
Listen, Sellers is a stud. They've got a stud quarterback. They ended the season strong. Some people thought that they should have been a playoff team. I get it, but Illinois are better than people give them credit for. So, yeah, it's one of those, I'm not so sure Illinois are going to get blown out in this football game. But as far as Louisville and Washington are concerned, listen, I'm a big Big Ten guy, and I know it's weird to say that about Washington, but they are Big Ten sort of style football. They've always sort of been like a wannabe, they fit right into the Big Ten. But I think that Fish, you look at Jed Fish, Dave, it's going to take him a year or two. Like, he didn't have his players, right, at Washington. He gets the job right after the championship, guys. It's too late. Like this, with the transfer portal and the dates and stuff, the way that they are, you're screwed. Like, if you're behind the 8 ball now. We see, the kids are leaving before bowl games now and joining teams. So Fish, was screwed, guys. He couldn't, bring in players. And DeBoer raided the Washington team. So, all the, you got Penix, Pettis, Unduze. You got all, or Polk, not Pettis, Polk, excuse me. You got all these players, their 2 wide receivers, their quarterback, Washington. They went to the NFL. And then Kalen DeBoer was the coach of Washington. And he knew all the good players. And a bunch of the players bolted with him and went to Alabama with him. So Jed Fish basically inherited a team that wasn't his team, not his system of players and stuff. Now he hires Eric Bieniemy, and it should be noted with the Washington Huskies, guys, unless this game is in Seattle, I think they're probably going to lose the football game. The Washington Huskies were 6-0 at home this year. Really tough place to play. 6-0 at home. They didn't win a road game, right? This is on the road.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night, I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
And here come the Atlanta Falcons right now. The total fell all the way down to 45.5. It's currently 47.5 right now. Atlanta are doing the same thing that Washington just did on the last drive. March the ball down the field. They're inside the 20-yard line right now. Well, excuse me, they're on the 27-yard line right now. 22 after the 5-yard pickup that they just got, but they turned it over. Washington turned it over. We'll see if Atlanta doesn't turn it over. Atlanta can convert this into a touchdown. Atlanta converts this into a touchdown. Then we got a game for real here. If they take a 14-7 lead, put a little pressure on Washington, field goal still not the end of the world, but touchdown would be a much bolder statement here. All right, Dave, let's get down to business here. College football playoffs. On Tuesday they start. I'm going to be on New Year's Eve for the Penn State Boise State football game. Current point spread is 11. I see a 53 and even 53 for the total right now. Texas, this line has come down. Texas are now laying 12 to Arizona State. Total is 51. Ohio State are currently 2.5-point favorites over the Ducks, who have beaten them the last two times that they played. They beat them this year, but don't forget, the Ducks went into Columbus not that long ago. It was like 3 years ago and beat them when they were still in the Pac-12. Like on the road, they went in there and beat them in Columbus. Total 55.5. And Georgia, 1.5-point favorites against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, Dave. Any one of the games catch your eye more than the other, or do you like them all? What are you looking at?
Yeah, so I think that one thing I'll say with that Ohio State and Oregon game, I like the over in that, and it's a lot of people like the over. I got on that early. It was about 52.5. It opened up. Now it's at 55.5, but I don't really see any reason why we can't get to at least 58 points. They got over 60 the first time that they played. Ohio State, both of these teams have a lot of speed. We saw what Oregon did, a high-scoring game against a Penn State team that plays relatively slow. They got over the total in the first half of that one. So I think that that Ohio State and Oregon game is for all you guys who love points and love overs, I like over the total in that one. As far as if we're looking at one of the dogs that I like, let's talk about that first one. Call me crazy, but I think that Boise State can hang with Penn State in this one. It's going to be different seeing it at a neutral field. Boise State, they've got some experience. I don't think that their quarterback is going to make the same mistakes that Jennings made for SMU with those pick sixes. Penn State defense has to focus so much on Genty. I think that it's going to be a competitive game at that 10.5 points there. I like Boise State to cover. The one that
hold on, Dave. Hold on. We've got ourselves a touchdown. We've got ourselves a touchdown. Bijan Robinson scores his second touchdown of the football game and the first half. Robinson's on fire, and some fantasy football owners right now are definitely loving this. So Robinson with his second touchdown of the game. As somebody on the Atlanta Falcons, I'm a fan of what I'm seeing right now. Falcons take a 13-7 lead, extra point pending. We got 5:33 left in the first half of play. Dave with us. Sorry, go on, Dave. And I do agree with you as far as Boise is concerned. I think their quarterback can make more plays than people are giving him credit for. I think Boise's defense, dude, the Penn State offense is it's not very dynamic, right? They pop big plays on the ground every once in a while. Their quarterback isn't very accurate. If you shut down their tight end, there's no one else really gets open. So if you can contain Ward, it's easier said than done. But Penn State don't always get the ball to him either. And it's not just Genty, but I think they can use Genty as decoys. I think they're going to use Genty in the passing game a lot more. It'll be impossible just to run Genty like through their wall, right? They got to mix it up a bit with screen plays and stuff. But I think it's going to be a really fun game, actually, this one, in a close game. And, oh, yeah, by the way, Boise State have never lost a Fiesta Bowl. They're kingpins at a Fiesta Bowl, Dave. Remember, Statue of Liberties, there's always crazy stuff. Oh, that's not a touchdown. They took it off the board. It's on the 1 yard line right now. Unbelievable. They say that he stepped out, and now they just tried to run it in with Penix. My apologies to fantasy football players, but they celebrated. Everybody, he even jumped in the stands. They put a touchdown up on the screen. And, man, Penix should have just scored on that sneak right there. But it's the one thing Penix is not good at. He's not a good scrambler. He's kind of slow. He's a pocket passer. That was a terrible sneak by Penix. The angle was there. Just give it to Robinson and punch it in. They're literally on like the half-yard line. They're not even on the one. They're on like the 6-inch line right now type of deal. God, and they're going in the shotgun. I hate that.
Not to be quick, you're right. That was one of the worst sneaks I think I've seen.
You see that, Dave? It's like, bro, the hole was there. Like he's like a drunk guy moving over. It's like, bro, all right. Like, if I'm the coaching staff, Dave, it's like, I'm sure they're looking, all right, let's never run that play ever again with him. No more sneaks. Like, you know what I mean? Like you saw, it was just bad, bro. It's like, dude, we got a broken leg or something? Like, he's not a fast dude. He's not. Like, he's not a mobile quarterback, Penix. So there's the touchdown, and it was Robinson again. I promise you.
Now the fantasy owners for Robinson can celebrate again. Just took a couple more plays, but there it is.
Hey, we got to get out in like a minute or two, though. So Texas, Arizona State, Notre Dame, Georgia. I'd generally like to take the underdogs if I can, but I think Texas roll Arizona State. Like, I'm glad that it's coming down. I hope it keeps coming down to 12 right now. Total's 51. I think that game's going to go over, too.
Yeah, I agree. I just think Arizona State's going to struggle against that Texas defense. If we see a blowout, which I'm sure we will, I'd like to see the underdog win, but I think that's going to be a blowout. That Georgia and that Georgia-Notre Dame game really fascinates me. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, but I think with the extra preparation of Kirby Smart, they're gonna pull it out. I'd love to see Notre Dame win, but I just can't believe in them against one of the top teams from the SEC until proven otherwise. Great Notre Dame defense, but I still don't trust Riley Leonard, and I think that the Bulldogs are gonna find a way to get the win.
Yeah, you look at Notre Dame, they're not playing on their home field against Indiana this time. HitThePick.com, get sports strong.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
In-game live game day continues. Jaden Daniels just popped a big run. And I don't know, it's probably about 22 yards or so in that range, 17 to 20 yards or whatnot. So Jaden Daniels on the move right now for the Washington Commanders. And surprisingly enough, and our boy Dave Delano, I love him, but I told him earlier, I said, yeah, when we opened up our segment, I said, I'm on the Atlanta Falcons. And he said, why would you do that? And here we are right now. They're up 14-7. And we're getting points with the Falcons. Currently, the Falcons are actually favored on the money line. I wouldn't have an argument if you said you want to jump in on Washington. Washington have shown an ability. Don't forget about the Hail Mary against the Chicago Bears, the comeback against the Philadelphia Eagles, especially on their home field. Right? They're tough to beat. They've shown an ability that they can pull these miracles out late in the fourth quarter. Atlanta are balling, though. Like, Atlanta's defense are getting to Daniels. I know Daniels just popped a nice little run, but Atlanta are flying to the football. Penix has been hit or miss, yet they've got 14 points on the board, right? I mean, he is raw. It is what it is, but you see that they're not shy to throw the football with him. They're going deep with him. I think they're going to live with the consequences, right? All right, he threw a pick, but he's also completed some nice passes. And, we have 2 touchdowns. Bijan Robinson has both touchdowns. In-game total is currently 49.5 right now. Let's do a prop check and get you caught up to date with some numbers as far as Penix, Daniels, and everybody else in between in this football game. So Penix has thrown the interception, doesn't have any touchdown passes, and he's only completed 50% of his passes. So like I said, it's been raw, but it's been somewhat effective enough. He's thrown for 66 yards. I'd like a little bit more considering I got 202 and a half, and we had a quick 52, actually. He slowed down a little bit. They had a shorter field to work with. Robinson's popped a few. So I'd like to see more yards from him for our bet. And one thing that's thrown the script off a little bit, I didn't think they were going to have the lead, right, like this. Well, I thought it would be a close game, but Atlanta are sort of like, they're kind of in control a bit. And Washington are moving the football now again, but like I said, Atlanta have done a nice job containing Washington. Washington scored on their first drive. They haven't done anything since. So Penix is 7 of 14 for 66 yards and an interception. Bijan Robinson has had a great first half. 11 carries for 63 yards, and he scored 2 touchdowns. Tyler Algiers, 3 carries for 19 yards. Penix, 1 carry, 0 yards. Don't let him run the football. He can't. That's something that we should have bet Penix's rushing yard prop under. This kid doesn't run. Atlanta receivers. Kyle Pitts actually has 2 catches for 28 yards. Drake London has 2. We bet London over 4.5. He's got 2 for 27. We bet Bijan Robinson over 2.5. He's got 2 for 2. Good. I don't care. Let him catch another one and lose 5 yards for all I care. Let's get that third reception home, which we should. We got a lot of football left. So that's not a bad start. Zacchaeus scored the first touchdown. Zacchaeus scored the first touchdown of the game, and he's actually got 5 receptions, man, for 53 yards. 5 receptions, 53 yards. Jamison Crowder, 2 catches, 16. McLaurin, 1 for 5. McNichols, 1 for -1. Zach Ertz, 1 for 9. Big play for the Atlanta Falcon defense. Judon with the play on Daniels. As I stated, Atlanta, their season's on the line, and Atlanta looked like a playoff team tonight. Right? They're playing with a raw quarterback, but everybody else is playing at a very, very high level. The defense playing at a high level. Like I said, Washington aren't an easy offense to shut down. And Judon just blasted Daniels from the blind side and recorded the sack. So Daniels, 10 of 12 for 82 yards, 1 interception and 1 touchdown. Daniels, 25-yard rush that we just talked about. 1 carry for 25 yards for Daniels. Brian Robinson Jr., 6 carries for 23 yards, and we went over the Washington wide receivers already. We got a little bit over 2 minutes remaining, 2:44 to be exact, left here in this first half, 14-7. Washington like to put some points up on the board before the end of the half, and it should be noted that the Washington Commanders will get the football to start the second half. Tom Vecchio will step up in it at the half with the halftime report. And from what I understand, Tom Vecchio also is watching the World Junior Hockey Championships. Canada getting all that they can handle from the Germans. 1-0 Canada after 2.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
In-game live game day continues. We're coming up to our halftime report with Tom Vecchio. As I was saying, Canada were minus 6.5 goal favorites again tonight. Canada were minus 7.5 goal favorites on Friday night against Latvia. And Latvia beat them 3-2 in a shootout. And it was literally one of the biggest upsets in hockey history and in sports betting history. It's right up there with all the monster, like to put in context, Mike Tyson and Buster Douglas, which is known as one of the biggest upsets ever in sports. Mike Tyson was a 42-1 favorite. Canada was a 40-1 favorite. Right? They were minus 40,000 on the money line. So, you know what I mean? And they lost the game outright. They were 7.5 goal favorites. So I think you can compare it to football. So, like, if you're 7.5 goal favorites, it's like being 49.5 point favorites type thing in football. And they lost the game outright. So tonight they were 6.5 goal favorites against Germany. And USA were 5.5 goal favorites against Germany a couple of days ago and beat them 10-4. And then the Germans did look better against the Finns or the Czechs, whoever they played. I don't know. I bet on the under and we won. I forget. But this Canada team's not an explosive offensive team. Let's just call it out for what it is. So the third period just started. In-game total is 3.5 right now. Canada minus 2.5 is minus 193. That's not a good price. I'm almost thinking, you know what, over 3.5. We're getting plus money on this. Germany will pull their goalie. Canada has to break through at some point here, right? They're up 1-0, but if they get that second goal and they get up 2-0, I think the floodgates can open. They did the same thing against the Finns. They scored a couple of late goals to beat them 4-0 when it was all said and done. Canada aren't easy to score on, so that's the good news, like, for Canada. Defensively, they're rock solid, right? I mean, they lost in a shootout, and what are you going to do? It should be noted, too, the Latvian goalie stopped like 54 shots. Canada had like 56 shots on goal, and they only scored twice. The Latvian goalie, and then in the shootout, he stopped them like 8 times. Like, the goalie was unbelievable. Let's wait, though. Let's wait till it gets to 2.5. If it gets to 2.5, we'll bite. We'll jump in on this. But I get the feeling the 3.5 could be in play here. We got basketball going on. The San Antonio Spurs are up 31-25 on the T-Wolves right now. The T-Wolves are minus 160 on the money line. In-game total is 223.5. It's sort of on that pace to be going over that number right now. Michigan. The Michigan Wolverines are murdering Western Kentucky. It's 81-44 right now. It's not Western Kentucky. So 38.5, 176.5 is the total. And North Carolina are smashing Campbell 64-42. I wanted to get in on that Michigan game, but the spread was just so big. Bijan Robinson's having himself a half right now, guys. Like I said, if you're a fantasy player and you've got Bijan Robinson, you're loving this. 2 touchdowns in the first half. A lot of star players haven't stepped up fantasy football championship weekend. And Bijan Robinson is already 2 touchdowns in the football game. Over 70 yards rushing right now. A couple of receptions. I got him over 2. We already cashed our touchdown prop, but I bet him over 2.5 receptions. I'd like to see a little bit of a dump off. Let's hit this in the first half here. We got about $1.20 left in the first half. I actually love what they're doing right now, Atlanta. You've got the timeouts. You've got time. I would have probably called a timeout before the half, though, personally. Just to have a little bit more time, and you had a 2-minute warning coming up. They still have 2 timeouts and a minute left here, but it's a little slow, but I like what they're doing. They're giving the ball to Robinson. We always complain that you don't get the ball to Robinson enough. They're giving the ball to Robinson. And we're talking about the nice bullets that Penix can throw. Look at this pass, this last pass that Penix just threw. It was an out pattern to the sideline. It had to be precise. It was not an easy throw as far as the distance. It was like side, you know what I mean? It was like a longer side, horizontal type of throw. And he put it exactly only where Drake London could catch it. Like, Kirk Cousins not making that throw. Kirk Cousins would get sacked because he's like, oh, can I throw it? Or he'd throw like a little soft pass. Right? Penix is making the throws. He's having a hard time with the vertical stuff, like deep down the field, but don't try it. Just keep on doing what you're doing with this stuff. Look at this. Boom. Quick hit. Boom. Caught. Yard after catch. There's Darnell Mooney. There's Mooney with a first down and a nice pickup. Let's see. I'd love to see Atlanta punch a touchdown in here, man. We'll, as someone to bet on Atlanta, and I'm betting on these in-game overs and stuff, and I got this game teased to the over. I'd be happy with 17-7 if you told me that before the half, like before the game, that they'd be up. But let's get this touchdown to really keep this pace of this football game and really open it up. They're doing a good job with the dink and dunk stuff. Problem is, now you got 2 timeouts, so you can work anywhere in the field, but it's taken a little while. Like I said, I would have used one of the timeouts earlier, and you would have had like an extra, they let 22 seconds burn into the 2-minute warning. And you were getting the ball back anyway. So just call the timeout, force them, and then you get the 2-minute warning, and you still would have had 2 timeouts left. I swear to God, gamblers are better, especially if you're an over bettor, you're a better clock manager than the coaches are. Video game players, they talk about Madden players being good at clock management. Gamblers, every team should hire a gambler to be their clock manager. Oh, my God. Atlanta are so lucky that did not get intercepted, which would have been a killer for any totals. Penix threw over to the middle of the field. The ball got tipped around and batted in the air. Barely. It was almost like the Ram play last night, which, for the record, that wasn't an interception last night. And I know it is in the modern rules. Oh, the ball didn't move. What are we living in here? If the ball hits the ground, it shouldn't be a catch. That's the way it used to be. Right? It used to be if the ball hits the ground, it doesn't matter. It's not a catch. The ball hit the ground. The play's dead. It hit the ground. It doesn't matter that if you have your hands on it, it hit, and you got to be under it. Under it. And the other one was you used to be able to bobble the ball. It didn't matter if, the ball moved and this and that and stuff. I mean, you see guys sort of, tip it to themselves and catch it out of bounds, right? They overanalyze stuff. So they got to kick the field goal. As much as I like the play calling, this is your problem with it. And I talked about the clock management. You guys were so casual. Oh, we still have 2 timeouts. We still have 2 timeouts left. Yeah, but you only had 16 seconds left, so now you force yourself to have to go to the end zone. If you would have called the timeout before the 2-minute warning, you would have had an extra 22 seconds right now. I was going to say, dear God, is Koo going to miss the kick? Is Koo going to miss the kick? But Koo made the kick. The wind started to, it was going. So we got a 17-7 game. We'll take the 3. I would have preferred the touchdown. Vecchio's coming up with the halftime report on the other side here. So the Falcons are up 17-7. In-game total is currently 45.5 right now. And the Falcons are 5.5-point favorites in this game. Now, I'm already on Atlanta, but I don't have Atlanta to win the football game. I got them plus the points, and I got them in teasers. That Washington plus 225 is not a bad price. But the thing is, they're not going to score before the end of the half, and Washington do get the ball to start the second half. So you have the half to sort of consider this. It just went down to plus 210. I thought it was a little bit too high. Washington aren't going to tap out in this football game. They have been good at coming back. They've been very good. We've talked about it, about them winning football games late. So 17-7, total just bumped up to 47.5 right now. I think it's going to get there because the Falcons are good for another touchdown. And I think Washington are going to get on the board here. They're going to have to pick it up and just start, getting into their no huddle, hurry up type of offense. So I don't have a problem with jumping in on in-game 47.5. We're already on the total in the game. We got an in-game over already. We'll have some picks on the other side coming back in the third quarter. You know how we roll. We got the halftime show. Sean Higgs, George Kurtz in the second half. 17-7.
The Seahawks, I expected a bounce back after that poor performance against Buffalo the week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the moment. That's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So look, the bottom line is they don't know who their future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have a Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions once again. His third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
What's going on, and welcome to Pro Football Today halftime show. My name is Tom Vecchio. Sunday Night Football, Falcons visiting the Commanders, 17-7 in favor of the Falcons. They just hit a field goal right before halftime. Pretty slow start to the game from the Falcons side of things. We saw Michael Penix throw the interception. We got the touchdowns back and forth in the first quarter. Then things really start to slow down. That over-under, obviously, coming into the game was sitting at 46.5 or 47, depending on where you could find it. It's up to 47.5, but it was jumping all over the place, obviously, with that early scoring. It was up over 50. We had the 2 touchdowns in the first, but things have really quieted down as the game has gone on, and I'm expecting a modest amount of scoring in the second half. We got to look at this game and take a big picture approach, take that step back. Like, this is a highly important game for both teams. The Falcons know that the Bucs won earlier today, and they really want to do everything that they can to put themselves in a spot to secure the division title for the NFC South. The Commanders, they can certainly clinch their playoff spot if they do come away with the win. The live line right now is sitting at 3.5 minus 3.5 in favor of the Falcons. It is juiced minus 120, and again 47.5 over under. The Commanders will get the ball coming out of halftime. I did just jump on the Commanders at plus 3.5. That's a spot that I certainly want to take them if they are getting the ball. They can put up one scoring drive and then start to cut into this lead. As for the stats for both of these teams, it has really been the Bijan Robinson show on the ground with 13 carries, 82 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Exactly what people want to see if you have them in SGPs. Obviously, it is the Fantasy Championship weekend this week, so Robinson carrying plenty of teams into the championship and putting up a big performance. Drake London leading the way for the Falcons. 3 catches for 44 yards. On the other side, Olamide Zaccheaus leading the way for the Commanders. I don't think anyone expected too much of that. With 6 catches and 63 yards and a touchdown going up against his former team. We've seen both quarterbacks held under 100 yards in the first half. Obviously, Penix and Daniels both with interceptions so far. Daniels 92 yards to 1 passing and the 1 TD. Michael Penix 98 yards, no passing, and the 1 interception from him. I will say, I have a little bit of interest when it comes to Jane Daniels' passing prop. we're not seeing a whole lot from Brian Robinson. We've got two Robinsons in the backfields in this game. Brian Robinson, the Commander, 6 carries for 23 yards is not good considering he has a long carry of 12 yards. That means he has 5 other carries for 11 yards, really not getting anything going. So Daniels' live passing prop is sitting at 240. I would say it depends on what you have at stake in this game already. Like, all things considered, the Falcons' defense is not great. Like, we've seen it for the majority of the season. Like, their secondary has been torn apart by many opposing quarterbacks on largely a week in and week out basis. And I understand if you look back at recent weeks, it may not seem like that. Going up against Drew Lock last week, going up against for the Raiders, it wasn't Aiden O'Connell. It was Desmond Ridder in there a couple of weeks ago. Like, recent results, you're like, the Falcons' defense is good. But that's really not the case in the grand scheme of things. If they're not getting anything going on the ground, I think Daniels, obviously, presumed rookie of the year. He's going to have to get it going through the air. So 240 for Daniels could be the route to go. Now, if you don't want to go all the way up that high, I certainly understand it. Kind of a roundabout way to, have some exposure to Washington if you're expecting them to make a little bit of a push in the second half. It's got to be Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin is sitting at 1 catch for 5 yards in the first half. And it's not just 1 catch. He only has the 1 target. So, I mean, that's just, your best offensive player can't be having 1 target in the first half for 5 yards. So the point being, if you think the 240 is a bit too high for Daniels, Terry McLaurin is sitting at 45.5. It's minus 114 to the over, minus 115 to the under. Again, he is just the 5 yards in the first half, a bit lower. I would say not a bit lower, a lot lower than people were expecting. So I'm jumping in on the Commanders at plus 3.5. I like them at that spot. The live total has jumped up to 48.5. It was 47.5. Kind of right in line with that pregame number. The line is obviously flipped because the Falcons are ahead again. We will be seeing the Falcons not get the ball. The Commanders will be getting the ball coming out of halftime. We saw Michael Penix throw an interception on the opening drive. So Commanders get the ball. I would say this is going to dictate a lot of what we see in the second half. If they can come out and score on the first drive of the second half, either a field goal or a touchdown, we will be in for a game time. We'll be in for that back and forth scoring that we absolutely want to see. I also think it comes down to seeing Brian Robinson for the Commanders get the ball moving on the ground to open up that play action to either Zach Ertz or Terry McLaurin. That's what we should be seeing from the Commanders offense. As you can see, a clear lack of production from Brian Robinson on the ground. 6 carries, 23 yards, and all of those 23 yards came on 1 carry. On the Falcons side of things, listen, what's working right now is just giving Bijan Robinson the ball. So I know we've got off to a pretty good start for Drake London, for Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts' pregame number was sitting at 20 or 22.5, depending on where you were shopping. He's already up to 31 for one of the more inconsistent players in the league. Now, Drake London's at 3 for 44, and you think he'd be on pace for a big game. His live line right now is sitting up at 65.5. You like him, obviously, if you have him on your fantasy team, especially at this point in the season. You're betting on his props. You have him altered down to 50 plus or whatever it might be. You'd like to see him continue to get going. However, I think this is still going to be just a big second half for Bijan Robinson, and it's largely going to be dictated by what the Commanders do on that opening drive. If they are able to score, that's where we should see Drake London and or Kyle Pitts have games. Speaking of Bijan Robinson, his live line is sitting at 126.5 rushing yards is his live line. Again, as you see, he's already up to 82 in the first half. He's got the 2 TDs. He's obviously the engine of the offense right now. And frankly, I don't see a reason why he shouldn't be able to hit that. We've seen from Penix, obviously not the interception, it's just the one, but they're not making like super deep throws down the field. He has the one long-ish pass to Kyle Pitts, but overall they're very, very controlled offense. So I think they're just going to reel it in, give the ball to Bijan Robinson, know what's at stake, and the win that they can pick up today because the Buccaneers won earlier today. Again, Falcons 17-7 at halftime. Coming back after this Sunday Night Football. Stay tuned here on SportsGrid.
As the candles flicker, a new tradition shines. 8 nights of Hanukkah, 8 nights of winning insights.
Like, they may come out slow, so you might be able to get a better number. Wow, they're favored.
With SportsGrid, every night is another chance to win.
No pick sixes today, they cover. So let's crunch it up. Let's make it happen. Let's give you our favorite props.
Let your Hanukkah winnings brighten your celebrations. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred or just worked on the side or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
What's going on, and welcome to Pro Football Today, halftime show for Sunday Night Football. My name is Tom Vecchio. Falcons are up 17-7 over the Commanders. We're going to be throwing it back to Gabe for in-game live shortly. Again, I'm expecting a modest amount of scoring when it comes to the second half. Live total is at 48.5. It is a 3.5-point spread in favor of the Falcons. We will be seeing the Commanders get the ball to open up the second half. We've seen some modest production in the grand scheme of things from this game, and I think that's what we should be seeing. It's great to see Bijan Robinson get the touchdowns, the yards up at 82, the 2 touchdowns. It's fantasy championship weekend. You have them in SGPs, you have them in whatever it might be. I think the overall importance of this game for the playoff picture will shine through in the second half. So we're not going to see these teams run up and down and score 3 touchdowns as the Commanders did in the fourth quarter last week against the Eagles. I think we're going to end right at that 40 to 45 total number. So a modest amount of scoring, get Terry McLaurin involved for the Commanders side of things. That's what we like to see, get the ground game going with Brian Robinson. And the Falcons just continue to operate with Bijan Robinson, keep getting in the ball, get Drake London involved, and they should be fine. So I think we're in for a really competitive second half. Maybe not a ton of scoring, but it's going to be good. Throwing it back to Abe now for in-game live. I'll see you guys for a recap after this. Stay tuned.
And the second half has begun. In-game live game day continues. Thanks to Tom Vecchio for the halftime report. He'll rejoin us with the post-game show following this Sunday nighter that's been pretty entertaining, actually. The Tampa Bay Buccaneer players are definitely watching this football game right now. Arizona gave the Seattle players something to get excited about last night before Kyler Murray was intercepted in the end zone to end the football game. Couple of quick plays we posted in our Twitter X chat for our viewers online right now. We went Jaden Daniels, over 241.5 passing yards at the half. He had 92 at the half, so we went 241 over Jaden Daniels. We went over 8.5 receptions for Zacchaeus, who's got 6 already, so we need 3 more catches from him. And Michael Penix doesn't run the football. And we saw they tried to run a sneak with him, and it went nowhere quickly. I don't expect them to try to run. They're not going to run a design play for him. And he's not going to take off on his own unless he absolutely positively has to. And I think he'd rather just throw the football away. So we went under 2.5. It's pretty bold. But, hey, if Atlanta wins, they could be in the victory formation as well. We'll see. And I tell you, Atlanta's defense have picked up where they left off in the first half. They just sacked Jaden Daniels. They just got to Jaden Daniels, and they're terrorizing him. Like, he doesn't have time in the pocket. Atlanta's defense, there's a penalty on the play. Oh, and it's hands to the face on Washington, get bailed out there. Hands to the face on Atlanta. 17-7. We told you right when we were going into the half that Washington were plus 220, and it wasn't a bad look, and it's plummeted all the way down to plus 170 right now. Trailing by 10. A lot of football left. Plus 180 to be exact. Let's bring in Sean Higgs, who steps up and in this evening. And, Sean, 17-7. I know you were out for a nice steak dinner earlier, so thanks for joining us. Your post-meal TV and radio appearance here. But we're on the Atlanta Falcons in this game, and they've been balling, man. Michael Penix is his second start only. He's missed a couple of passes. He threw an interception early, but he's also thrown a bunch of bullets. And it's really been the Bijan Robinson show. Bijan Robinson with 2 touchdowns in the first half. And the Atlanta Falcon defense look, the Commanders only have 7 points, man. The Falcon defense really has caused problems for Washington so far tonight.
Yeah, well, we talked a little bit off air. I was like, you said you're on Atlanta. I was like, I grabbed Washington at the 3.5. I just thought, I'm not loving Penix. He's a rookie. And you went into your whole rant on. I'm like, oh, he's not just a rookie. He looks so good so far.
He's special.
He's not terrible. They're all special. They're all special.
His reputation, he wins this football game, that's going to cement this. Like, he's not a rookie anymore suddenly.
Oh, yeah. Big win on the road.